going to tell you something most people never say out loud. Attraction isn't always honest. Not because people want to lie, but because some feelings are easier to hide than to explain. And if you only listen to what's said, you'll miss what's actually real. Because the truth is, the strongest emotions are often the ones people try to control. And today, I'm going to show you the hidden emotional patterns, the things that are rarely spoken, but deeply felt. And once you understand these, you'll start seeing people very differently. Before we dive deeper, a quick message. If you've been learning from my videos and you want to support this work, you can subscribe to me on Facebook with a paid membership, send stars, or join my YouTube channel's paid community. Your support helps me create more powerful content for you, and I truly appreciate every bit of it. All right, now let's continue. Let's start with something simple but powerful. Most people don't hide attraction. They hide how much they feel it. Because strong emotions create vulnerability, and vulnerability feels risky. So instead of expressing everything, they hold back. They soften it. They filter it. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because what looks like disinterest is sometimes emotional protection. A person might seem distant, less responsive, less expressive, but internally, they're thinking more than they're showing. And this is where most people get it wrong. They assume what they see is the full story, but it rarely is. Now, listen carefully to this, because this changes how you read people. People don't always act based on what they feel. They act based on what feels safe to show. And safety is influenced by past experiences, fear of rejection, fear of misunderstanding, fear of losing control. So instead of showing everything, they show just enough. Now, here's something deeper and a bit uncomfortable to admit. Sometimes, when someone feels a strong connection, they pull back, not because they don't care, but because they care too much. And that intensity, it feels unfamiliar, so they slow it down. They create distance. They try to regain control. And here's the part most people never realize. Silence doesn't always mean absence of feeling. Sometimes it means there's too much going on inside. Now, let's go deeper, because this is where emotional psychology becomes real. People want to feel understood without having to explain everything. They want someone to notice the small shifts, the subtle changes, the unspoken signals. Because when someone understands you without effort, it feels rare. But here's the challenge. Most people are too focused on what they want to say to notice what's being shown. They miss the pauses, the tone changes, the energy shifts, and those are where the truth lives. Now here's something even more interesting. People often test emotional safety, not intentionally, but naturally. They might hold back affection, delay responses, act slightly different, just to see how the other person reacts. Because reactions reveal stability, and stability creates trust. Now, understand this clearly. This isn't manipulation. It's human behavior. We all do it, in different ways, at different levels. Now, let me tell you something most people won't admit. Everyone wants to feel chosen, not chased, not pressured. Chosen, there's a difference. Because being chosen feels genuine. It feels calm. It feels secure. And here's where things shift. When someone feels like they have to prove themselves, they close off. But when they feel accepted, they open up, naturally. Now, let's talk about emotional consistency, because this is where most connections either grow or fall apart. People don't trust intensity. They trust consistency. Anyone can be interesting for a moment, but very few people can be stable over time. And that stability, that's what people don't say they want, but deeply need. Now, here's a truth that might surprise you. People don't hide their feelings perfectly. They leak through body language, through timing, through small behaviors. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice it. A slight change in tone, a longer pause before responding, a different kind of eye contact. These aren't random, they're signals, subtle but real. Now here's the most important part. Understanding this doesn't mean you control people, it means you understand them better. And when you understand people, you respond differently. You become calmer, more aware, less reactive. And that's where real attraction begins, not in trying to impress, but in being grounded enough to notice what others miss. Now let's go even further, because everything we've covered so far is the surface layer, and the surface layer is where most people stop. But underneath it, there's something far more interesting. There's a reason people hide what they feel, and it's not weakness, it's history. Every person you've ever met is carrying a version of a story they haven't finished telling. Moments where they were too much for someone, moments where they opened up and got hurt for it, moments where they trusted and were left exposed. And so over time, they learned to edit themselves, to show the version of their feelings that felt safer to share. And understanding that changes everything about how you see people, because that person who seems cold might just be careful. That person who seems indifferent might be protecting something tender. That person who pulls away right when things get real might be the one feeling it most. And when you start seeing people through that lens, you stop taking their behavior personally. You stop reacting to the surface and start responding to the depth. And that shift is one of the most powerful things you can develop. Now here's something that rarely gets discussed: emotional timing. Not everyone feels things at the same speed. Some people fall into connection quickly, openly, effortlessly. Others need time. They need to observe before they invest. They need to feel safe before they feel anything at all. And the mistake most people make is measuring someone else's pace against their own. If they open up fast and the other person doesn't, they assume disinterest. But that's not always the truth. Sometimes the person who moves slowly feels the most deeply. They're just more careful about where they place that depth. So before you assume someone doesn't care, ask yourself, are they moving slowly or are they moving carefully? Because there's a significant difference, and understanding it could change how you show up. Now here's another layer that most people completely overlook: the difference between what someone says and what they repeat. People can say many things casually. Words come out easily. But what someone comes back to, what they mention again, what they bring up unprompted, that's where the real feeling live. If she mentioned something you said 3 weeks ago, that wasn't casual. That was something she held. If he circles back to a moment you both shared, he's telling you, without saying it directly, that it meant something. Pay attention to what people return to, because repetition is emotional honesty in disguise. Now let's talk about something even more nuanced: the role of pride in hiding feelings, because pride is one of the most misread emotional forces there is. It looks like arrogance, it looks like coldness, it looks like not caring, but underneath it is usually the opposite. People with a strong sense of pride feel things very deeply. They just refuse to show it until they feel completely safe. Because for them, vulnerability isn't just uncomfortable. It feels like exposure, like handing someone a weapon. And so they protect themselves by appearing unbothered, unaffected, indifferent. But watch closely, because the cracks always appear in the moments they forget to perform. In the unguarded smile that comes too fast, in the pause before they say they're fine, in the way they stay, even when they pretend they don't need to. Pride hides feeling. It doesn't erase it. And once you understand that, you stop being fooled by the performance. Now, here's something that ties all of this together: the concept of emotional mirroring. People subconsciously mirror the energy of those they feel connected to. If you're calm, they become calmer. If you're anxious, they feel it. If you're open, they slowly open. If you're guarded, they stay guarded too. And this is incredibly important, because it means the energy you bring to an interaction shapes what you get back. Not always instantly, but consistently. So if you want people to be more open with you, be more open. Not in a way that overshares, not in a way that performs vulnerability, but in a way that's genuinely, quietly honest. Because authenticity gives other people permission to be authentic too. And that permission is one of the rarest gifts one person can give another. Now, let me give you something practical, because awareness without application is just philosophy. The next time you're in a conversation and something feels off, don't react to it. Observe it. Ask yourself, what might this person be protecting right now? What experience might be shaping how they're showing up? What are they not saying that their body language is already telling me? Because when you start asking those questions, you stop seeing people as confusing. You start seeing them as human. And that shift from judgment to curiosity changes the quality of every relationship in your life. Now, here's something I want you to sit with, because this is the part most people skip. Understanding hidden emotions isn't just about understanding other people. It's about understanding yourself, because the patterns you notice in others are often the patterns you carry too. The way you hold back when you feel too much, the way you test safety before you trust, the way you create distance when something feels too real. Those aren't flaws, they're adaptations, things you learn to do to protect yourself. And becoming aware of them doesn't mean you have to eliminate them. It means you can choose when to lower them. When the situation is safe, when the person has earned it, when the moment calls for it. And that kind of emotional intelligence is the difference between someone who reacts to life and someone who responds to it. Now, here's the final truth that wraps everything together. Most people are waiting to be truly understood, waiting for someone to see past the performance, past the distance, past the carefully constructed version they show the world. And when someone finally does, when someone sees them, not just the surface, but the actual unedited version underneath, something opens, something that doesn't open for everyone. And that opening, that quiet moment of being genuinely known, is what people remember. Not the grand gestures, not the perfect words, but the feeling of being fully seen. And here's what makes this powerful. You can be that person for someone, not by analyzing them, not by reading their behavior like a manual, but by being present enough to notice, patient enough to wait, and safe enough that they want to show you. That's where real connection lives, not in the things people say, but in the things they finally stop hiding. Not everything meaningful is said out loud. Some of the most important things are felt quietly, observed carefully, and understood without words. If this gave you a new perspective, if something landed that hadn't before, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and go watch the next one. Because we're only getting deeper from here. The people who understand this don't just connect better with others, they understand themselves differently. And when you understand yourself, everything changes. How you see people, how you show up, how you love. That's what we're building here, one truth at a time.